As the saying goes, an unsteady foundation, earth-shaking tremors. Then, in engineering, how to determine the bearing capacity of foundation soil. In this lesson, we will learn together related content of plate load test detection. We will focus on explaining the following points. First, plate load test conditions. Second, shallow plate static load test. Rationale. Third, plate load test method. The load test is conducted on site through a rigid bearing plate of a certain area. Apply load to the foundation incrementally. Determine natural foundation. Settlement of single pile or composite foundation. How with load changes. How to determine the bearing capacity of the foundation soil. And on-site test method for deformation characteristics. The main advantages of load tests: does not disturb the foundation soil. Most reliable method to determine foundation bearing capacity. Most representative. Can be directly used in engineering design. Can also be used to estimate building settlement. For large-scale engineering. Important buildings. Load tests are generally indispensable. Is currently used worldwide to determine the primary method for determining foundation bearing capacity. Plate load test is one type of load test. This test method is used to determine stress under foundation bearing plate within the main influence range, soil layer bearing capacity, and deformation modulus. Related content of plate load test detection, depending on different applicable conditions, can be divided into shallow plate load tests and deep plate load test. Next, let's understand applicable conditions for load tests. Shallow plate load test. Suitable for shallow surface foundation soil, including various fills and gravelly soils. Deep plate load test. Suitable for burial depth equal to or greater than 3 meters. And foundation soil above the groundwater level. Shallow plate load test. Applicable for determining the carrying capacity and deformation modulus within the primary influence range of pressure under the bearing plate in shallow foundation soil layers. Depth is less than 3 meters. The plate load test is conducted on the surface of the test soil layer. Place a certain specification, a square or circular rigid bearing plate. Apply loads step by step on it. Duration of each load increment level. Conduct observations according to the standard. Record under each load level. Stable value of load plate settlement. Load until the total settlement reaches 25 millimeters, or until reaching the maximum capacity of loading equipment. Then, unload. Its duration should not be less than duration of the first level load increment. And record the rebound value of the soil according to test records. Plot the load settlement PS relationship curve. Then analyze the foundation soils strength and deformation characteristics. Determine the allowable bearing capacity of foundation soil and mechanical parameters such as deformation modulus. The load test device consists of bearing plate, voltage stabilized loading device, reaction device, and settlement observation devices, composed of 4 parts. Below we will explain and analyze one by one. The bearing plate simulates the building foundation. Apply the load transmitted to the foundation soil through the bearing plate. Its stiffness and dimensions should approximate the building foundation. Below, let us understand the stiffness and dimensions of the bearing plate. First, stiffness of bearing plate. Stiffness requirements are easily met. RIP versions may be used. thick steel plate, cast iron plate, concrete slab, or reinforced concrete plates. Commonly used are ribbed steel plates. Regardless of the bearing plate material selected, all require the bearing plate to have sufficient stiffness. The plate bottom is flat and smooth, center of the plate's dimensions, and aligns with the force transmission center. Easy to transport and install, and should not deform during use. 2. Dimensions of the bearing plate. Dimensions should be close to the actual foundation. Is difficult to achieve because the area of the bearing plate is too large. The quality requirements for equipment are also high, while the bearing plate area is too small, then affecting the settlement of foundation soil and ultimate load values. In general, ultimate load of foundation soil may decrease due to the bearing plate width or diameter B is too small. But if the diameter is too large, ultimate load increase is also insignificant. Therefore, when determining the size of the bearing plate, cannot be too small, nor should it be excessively large, due to the size of the bearing plate. For evaluating foundation soil bearing capacity, have a certain influence. To standardize test conditions, make the test results comparable. Most of our country's exploration standards stipulate the area of the bearing plate is mainly 0.25 to 0.5. Additionally, there are 0.1 and 1.0. 2. Loading system. The loading system refers to the device that applies rated loads to the foundation soil through the bearing plate. There are 4 common types: dead weight loading device, hydraulic jack loading device, weight mechanical hydraulic amplification loading device, electronically controlled voltage stabilized loading device. 3. Reaction system. Apart from the weight loading device, other loading devices all require matching reaction systems. The reaction force of the load test can be weights, ground anchor, or ground anchors and weights, jointly provided, then combine with the beam frame to form stable reaction system. When within the rock mass, such as test pits or trenches, during load testing, surrounding rock can be utilized. Provide the required reaction force. Here, we need to pay attention. In the anchored reaction system, the number of ground anchors should ensure have sufficient pull-out resistance to avoid being pulled up during the test. The reaction beam should also have sufficient stiffness. 4th, measurement system. Measure foundation soil settlement and the deformation of the ground around the bearing plate. Measurement system. Composed of observation brackets and measuring instruments. Composed of 2 parts. The observation bracket is used to secure measuring instruments, consisting of support columns, reference beam, and composed of other accessories, etc. Measuring instruments are dial indicator, displacement meter, displacement sensors, etc. Finally, let's understand the loading method of the plate load test and loading grades. First, the loading method is generally adopted as follows. Graded load holding settlement relative stabilization method, commonly referred to as the slow method, with regional experience. Alternatively, the graded loading settlement non-stabilization method may be used, commonly referred to as the rapid method, or the equal settlement rate method. Loading grades should preferably be 10 to 12 levels, and should not be less than grade 8. Maximum loading shall not be less than twice the design value of foundation soil bearing capacity. Load measurement accuracy should be controlled within plus or minus 1% of the maximum loading. 2. Test observation and stability criteria. Slow method. For soil, after each loading grade is applied, at intervals of 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 15 minutes. Measure settlement once. thereafter at 30-minute intervals. Measure settlement once, when continuously for 2 hours, and the hourly settlement, not exceeding 0.1 mm. Then, the settlement is considered has reached the relative stability criterion. The next loading grade can be applied for rock masses at intervals of 1 minute, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 5 minutes. Measure settlement once, thereafter at 10-minute intervals. Take one measurement when the difference between 3 consecutive readings, when less than or equal to 0.01 mm. Then, the settlement is considered has reached the relative stability criterion. The next loading grade can be applied. Rapid method. Apply each loading grade at 15-minute intervals. Observe settlement once. Each loading grade is maintained for 2 hours. The next loading grade can then be applied. The final loading grade. If the difference in readings during the final load stage is less than 0.0 lmm or remains unchanged for 2 hours, the settlement is considered to have reached relative stability or criteria. Load tests should generally be conducted as much as possible. Load until the test soil layer fails. Then terminate the test when any of the following conditions occurs. Consider that the foundation has reached the failure stage. The test may be terminated. Test termination conditions. First, the soil around the bearing plate. Obvious lateral extrusion occurs. Significant uplift in surrounding rock and soil, or continuous development of radial cracks. 2. Settlement under current loading increases sharply, exceeding 5 times the settlement of the previous loading grade. A steep drop appears in the PS curve. 3. Under a certain load level, 24-hour settlement rate cannot meet the relative stability criterion. 4th, total settlement and bearing plate diameter, or the width ratio exceeds 0.06. In this lesson, we mainly studied plate load test conditions and advantages, basic principles of shallow plate load test, and the plate load test method. Hope you in future learning and work continuously consolidate bridge engineering test and inspection, landing gear limit switch, cultivate meticulous craftsman spirit,